To make this wreath, you're going to need to have some scissors, your pom-pom makers, and a wire. I prefer a wire wreath ring. I got this at the dollar store. It measures 14 inches across. And I also like that it you can set the things inside it because it has like a little dip to it. I'm only going to be filling in one side of it. I'm not going to be putting anything on the bottom. So just to give you a heads up. Now the first part of doing this is you're going to need to make the pom-pom. So we're going to take the wire ring, we're going to set it out of the way for a minute, and we're going to end up making two different size pom-poms. We got the bigger size and the smaller. You can choose not to use the small. If you just want to do all big, you can. Now what is also good about using this wire thing just to show is after you make a pom-pom, you can set them around before you attach them to determine how many you're going to need to go around in case you want a lot or a little. We're going to end up making 22 of these big ones in order to have enough on hand in case I need some extra. To make this size here, I'm using the Clover brand pom-poms, and as you can see, the size of the pom-pom is kind of almost similar to the size of the pom-pom maker anyway, just to give you a reference when you're making them. And again, just a quick note, when I got this set of Clover pom-poms, it actually wasn't a 4-piece set, so it was different sizes all the way down to a small one. I just chose to use these two for this project. But you can, if you have them or other ways to make pom-poms, you can easily decide to change out the size. So again, to make a pom-pom, I'm only going to show you how to do it on the big one because it's easier to see, but you'll do that same process if you choose to make smaller ones on the other ones as well. Now it's important to have, I call a good pair of scissors. I actually like these with the more of a point on them because when we're done wrapping it, we will be cutting right in between this ridge, and having a good pair of scissors, small scissors that are sharp, will make it a lot easier. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to pick out what color yarns you want to do. And as you can tell, that pom-pom was a multicolored one. So I'm using this one. This was a Red Heart brand, like Super Saver yarn that was called Fall. It's an older yarn, but I'm sure you can find a variegated yarn similar to this in the fall colors that you like. So when you want to make a pom-pom, you get your yarn, and this is done with a yarn ball winder. That's why it looks like a nice little cake. You're going to take your yarn. You got your Clover pom-poms. If you're using these type, if you're using other pom-poms, then the process may be different. You're going to separate the spots. So you see, you can kind of pull it out. Okay, and you're going to pick one side. It's a little easier to do, but again, showing you on camera makes it hard. And we're going to take the yarn, we're going to kind of hold it with our finger on one side, and we're just going to wrap around this half moon. And you're going to go from one side of the half moon to the other. It's a little slippery, but again, you're going to be holding it differently than I am when you do it. And it's okay if they kind of get out of whack, you can kind of slide them back together. Now what I usually do, as you can see, I've got my finger up here, and I'm wrapping, and I'm looking at the top. I'm kind of pushing it over because I want as much yarn in there as I can. If you don't want the pom-pom to be as fluffy, then you would go ahead and you would just gently wrapping it around. Now, because you see the colors look like this, they don't come out that way in the pom-pom because they get ruffled up. So and don't worry about this. Once you've got it wrapped, it's okay if this one just hangs there. So go ahead and keep wrapping. Now, once you get to the end of the project, the first part, as you're wrapping towards the end, you're going to notice that you have like this groove right here. You're going to, as you get close to the end, you're going to end up sliding your yarn in between that groove. And then that's when you go over to the other side. So I'm taking it through that groove. Getting caught. Taking it through the groove here, right down between the other one. And then I'm just doing the same process of wrapping till the end. This side is closed down here because this is how it should kind of be looking. And as you get close to the end on this side, we're going to do the same kind of thing of going through that groove that we have here, the split part we have right here. So you're going to come this way, and you're going to close it. You're going to take your trusty scissors, you're going to cut this tail, and then what you're going to do before you start cutting this off, I want you to cut probably about 5 to 6 inches or so, as much of a strand of yarn as you want. You're going to use this in a second, and you want it long enough so that you can attach it easily to something. Now here comes the fun part. This is the part that my daughter actually really liked. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take your scissors, you're going to go right in between this groove, and you're going to start cutting. Use your thumb to hold this closed so it doesn't come open, and you're going to go right in there, and you're going to snip this part, and then the one strand you had will come off, but you're just going to snip all the way around. My daughter loves this part because it looks kind of fun. You snip all the way around it. Oops. Keeping it close together. Get to your next part, and again, however wrapped you did it, you can add more yarn or not. You're going to go all the way around. Oops. Once all the yarn is cut, go ahead and take that strand that we cut, and you're going to slide it right in between this part. Okay, so it goes right in between there. I usually give it a little tongue, and then I tie it. Give it a tie. I usually tie it twice. Give it a good snug tie. Now the fun part, you open up these again, and then you pop it off, and these go right back together to close up to make your next one. And then as you see, it looks kind of weird. I just tend to roll it. I fluff it up. That's what I tell my daughter. And I also take this time, because this is the strand I had, to look and see if there's any stragglers. Like, is there any that are really too long? And if you notice that, then you can easily go, okay, you can easily trim the parts that are too long. So then all you're going to do now is you're just going to fluff it up. That's what I tell people. Now again, if you add more yarn into it, like I said, this one's kind of a little more separated, so you may choose to do, I said, where you kind of use your finger to move it down in to make it more onto the spot, and then you just kind of fluff it up. Okay, and then that will be a pom-pom. And you'll do the same process in the other one. Like I said, I did 22 of these big ones to have on hand for designing, and then I'm going to do the same process that I did on the big one on my little yellow one to make these that are more, probably about an inch and a half size pom-pom. This is more closer to like 2 to maybe 3-inch size pom-pom. But again, it's whatever size you want to do. That's what I like about this project, is you can easily change it up. So again, go ahead and make yourself 22 of the big ones, and then make yourself, I did 12 yellow ones to have on hand, but then I also used a burgundy color, and here they are back here. I used this yellow, which I call kind of a mustardy color, and I used like a burgundy color to kind of tie in to the colors that are in this pom-pom. So we'll move on to the next step after you make all your pom-poms. For the next part of this project, before you start actually attaching the pom-poms, you're going to want a hot glue gun. You're going to want one of the pom-poms you've already made. And then I also, at the Dollar Tree, where I got the wreath, I found these fake leaves. You actually get quite a bit in a package. I think there was like 50 of them in a package. And they're all different colors. There's a lot of reds, there's these bright colors. So what I did, because I'm not going to show you the whole thing, is I already made up 2 pom-poms. Using the hot glue gun, I attached 2 leaves, and on this one I included a button. On this one, it's just the 2 leaves being hot glued to the pom-pom. And then when these go on the wreath, they'll be kind of close together and give us a little fall decor a little better. So when you go to do that, you're going to take your pom-pom that you have, keep an eye on the strings that you'll be tying around so they're out of your way, kind of flatten down the pom-pom. Now I actually do not have my hot glue gun on because I was afraid if I burned myself on camera, you may hear me swear. So I'm not actually having this heated up, but what you would do is heat up your glue gun, being careful obviously because it's hot, and you would dab some of the glue on this like flat surface as much as you can, and then you would gently place one of the leaves. Don't push way down because that's going to be hot glue, and if you use your bare hand it's going to be hot. So what I did is sometimes you could find a little piece of like a newspaper or another piece of paper to kind of help you push it down on to the pom-pom. let that cool a little bit, and then you take your glue gun again, you do another dab on top of that leaf, and you would go ahead and place your next leaf however you choose. And again, you can choose, if like I did, excuse me, to maybe add a button. Not this one, it's just a random one. If you decide to add a button, you could attach, being very careful, attach some glue to the back of that, attach some glue to your leaf, and then go ahead and push it on there and let it cool to harden onto the surface. So that's the next step you want to do, is decide how many pom-poms you may want these really pretty leaves on, and if you decide you want to actually use any buttons, you might want to find some of them. So again, when you finish up, I'm only going to do 2 at this time. When you finish up, they'll look like this. They'll be attached. As you can see, there's glue in between the levels, but you can't see, excuse me, you can't see any glue on the front. And again, be very careful, because I almost burnt myself doing this. And again, we have the same thing. We glued them onto the pom-pom, we glued the leaf onto the leaf, and I did 3 on this one. And then I glued on the button. So again, you can choose if you can find those fake leaves, and this will be a nice addition to the wreath. Now comes the next part. This is where we're going to actually attach our pom-poms onto the ring that we have. And you're going to take your pom-poms, and you're going to still fluff them if you need to, if you feel like they need a little fluff if they've been sitting for a while. Again, trimming anything you might want to trim. And we're going to take the big multicolored ones that we have, and we're going to attach it, excuse me, you're going to figure out which one you want to attach to. I know I said the middle, so we can just go ahead, and all you're going to do is kind of turn this over. Have your pom-pom underneath, grab the 2 strands that you have left over from when you made your pom-pom, and then you're just going to go ahead and tie it to the ring. And you can give it one little tie, don't make it double knotted yet, and that way you can see if you're liking it on this side first, and whether you want to move it up or down on the which one you're tying it to. But I think it'll be pretty good there, because we're going to be adding ones to the outer ring, and we're going to be adding ones in different colors on the inside ring as well, so we'll be filling it in a little more. So once you figure out, okay, that's going to be good there, again, you're going to turn it over, and you're going to make sure you double knot it, just to make sure it's as secure to you as you can. And then if you want at this time, you can choose to trim the tail that you have from tying. You can wait and trim it again when you get it all done if you want. You don't have to trim them as you're working. And that's all you're going to do with the multicolor ones that you made, is you're simply going to go around on the same line as the one you did and tie them all to it. So tuck it under, grab the 2 strands that were left over from making your pom-poms, and then go ahead and just put it as close as you want to the other one, so there's not as much gaps, and then double knot it. And like I said, you can choose at this time to trim the tails now, or you can go back and do that later. That is up to you. Whatever's going to be more time efficient. And then as you see, as you get going around, you can just fluff up the front, and you see we get a nice cute starting pattern. So that's all I'm going to do, is I'm going to go around with all my multicolored ones first, and I'm going to attach them to that one ring, and then we'll come back and we'll start with the other ones as well. Now again, because I'm doing the multicolored ones, keep in mind you've got your 2 or more that you decide to do of your leaves. You can choose where you're going to want them to be on your ring, so you might want to do that now too. That's what I like, is you can kind of play around. Do you want them all together? Do you want one over here? So you have a little bit of wiggle room. So I already know that I want them to be kind of towards the bottom of the ring, and they're going to be over kind of here. I can choose to tie them now, or I can just keep working my way around till I get to that section and then tie them. So again, it's great to kind of lay out your design. If you don't want to do it the same way I did, you can easily change things around. So again, I'm going to go around attaching the multicolored ones and attaching my leaves before we move on to the next color. This is what your wreath should look like when you get all the multicolored ones on and you have your leaf ones on as well. I think it looks really cute the way it is, but again, we need to add a little more, because in some places you can see the wire coming through, because obviously these are not the biggest pom-poms I have. There are, I believe, clover pom-poms that makers that will do even bigger, and that might help you out to give it a fuller look. But what we're going to do is we're going to simply add more pom-poms to the outer ring and the inside ring, just to give us a little more contrast in color and just a little more fullness to the wreath. I have chosen to use a yellow pom-pom for in the inside and a burgundy one for the outside. I think that will bring out the colors in the multi-color yarn pretty well. So You're going to do the same process you did for the multicolored, and you can change it up. You can decide to do the burgundy on the inside and the yellow on the out, or you can do both burgundy, both yellow. Again, you just want to put some more fullness into the wreath by putting a color on the inside ring and on the outside ring. So once you decide your color choices, go ahead and do the same process of attaching them as we did with the multicolored. The wreath is all done, and I want to mention a few things. One, make sure you have obviously enough yarn on hand. I end up using a 5-ounce skein of Super Saver Red Heart yarn, so it was normal weight and everything, had 227 yards on it, and I went through that whole thing plus a little bit of another. So I would recommend having 2 skeins for whatever color you want to make. It's better to have too much than not enough. You don't want to be stuck in the middle of making all these pom-poms and run out of color that you want to do. Another thing is to how you're going to hang it. You can choose to hang it off the metal ring that's already on, or what I did is I actually made a simple I-cord on the back and attached it to the wire. What's great about this is you can use it for other holidays as well. You can easily change out the design and color for the holiday you're doing. For example, Easter time, maybe do more pastels and maybe find little mini eggs or something that you could attach to it. For the 4th of July, you could do a red, white, and blue scheme. For Christmas, you could do it all green, or you could alternate red and white for like a candy cane effect. So there's definitely some ideas you can have for other holidays. Black and orange for Halloween, and maybe find some spooky decorations to hot glue on it. So the possibilities are endless. And I'd love you to comment down below for any other ideas you have on how you could tweak this design for other holidays. Now, the other thing you have to do is, if you're going to make this wreath, please hit that like button down below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and that little bell icon so you can be notified of all the videos that I have coming up in the future. I hope you like this, and have a great day, everyone.